Shalom, I'm Rabbi Dr. Eldon Clem, and before we delve into the Aramaic language, I would like to show you the place of Aramaic in its relation to other Semitic languages. What makes Aramaic the easiest Semitic language for you to learn, if you already know Hebrew or Arabic, say, is that it's closely related to them. I mean, if you already know Hebrew, learning Aramaic would be like if you speak French and then you're learning Portuguese or Italian or Spanish. I mean, they're very easy. So, all right, so let's look at the place of these. There are some other reasons why you want to understand the place of these as well, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. But first, we divide the Semitic languages. Look on the right side of the screen here. We divide the Semitic languages using the family tree model. Now, all of this has to be balanced with the wave theory of linguistic development too, and I'll talk about that later. But right now, we'll just treat it as a straight family tree, or what I like to call it, the Semitic family values. Okay, the first major division in Semitic is East Semitic versus West Semitic. It's largely geographical. You have on the east of the Fertile Crescent, you have the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and to the west, and you have this big desert there, and to the west of that, you have the Levant, which is modern day, going from Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and so on. That's the west. And now the west is further divided in Central Semitic and South Semitic. Central Semitic would be Northwest Semitic languages and Arabic, basically. Northwest Semitic includes Ugaritic, Canaanite, and Aramaic. This is how I'm putting them. Some point Ugaritic is Canaanite. I don't agree with that, but just so that you'll know. And then Canaanite is further divided into Phoenician, Ammonite, Edomite, Hebrew, Moabite, and Der Allah. We also put Somalian in here, but I didn't want to make this too cumbersome. So I put this in roughly the dialect continuum that we have here, as Phoenician slides all the way up to Aramaic right here, which is the third major branch of the Northwest Semitic family. Now, we're comparing apples and oranges here a little bit too, because keep in mind that Ugaritic is a second millennium attested Semitic language. And Canaanite and Aramaic, those are first millennium Iron Age dialects. So this whole family tree thing, it's a simplification, which is fine for our purposes right now. And then we talk about Arabic, and by that we mean classical North Arabic and its later dialects. There are like 7 major ones. It's not important. Again, I don't want to make this too cumbersome for an introduction to Aramaic class, but I do want to give you an introduction to comparative Semitics here. And then we look at South Semitic. So we've got West Semitics divided into Central Semitic and South Semitic. South Semitic is ESA, or Epigraphic South Arabic, that we know from ancient inscriptions from the southern Arabian Peninsula, what is modern day Yemen and Oman. We call it ESA, Epigraphic South Arabic. And then you have Ethiopic, which is on the other side of the ocean in Eastern Africa. Modern Eritrea and Ethiopia speak Ethiopian languages. And you have modern South Arabic, spoken today in Yemen and Oman, in southern Arabian Peninsula. And so why is this important? Well, number one, we're doing philology. We're talking about the Bible here, Biblical Aramaic or Biblical Hebrew. If there's a not well attested word, for example, in Biblical Hebrew, and maybe it only occurs 1 or 2 times, so I've got to figure out, what does this word mean? So there I look at cognate languages, and I start with the languages that are closer. It's good evidence that these languages were probably mutually intelligible. But and then we move to Aramaic, Ugaritic. These have all been very helpful in trying to understand some of these hapax legomena, or words that occur only one time in the Hebrew Bible, say. But if our word is not attested here, then we go out. So we go into Arabic then. And Arabic's very rich language, vocabulary-wise, and we have to learn how to use the Arabic lexicon. That's another class. Take my Arabic with me, and we'll go into that. And then you may have to go beyond that if it doesn't occur here or not well attested. So we look at Akkadian. And there are many dialects here. I just put Akkadian, but there's Old Akkadian, and then the Babylonian and Assyrian dialects. And there's Eblaite, which is a kind of non-Sumerized Akkadian. Then we go down here. Okay, we can look at classical Ethiopic, a major Semitic language. Thousands of pages of text in that. And of course, we have ESA and modern South Arabic and so on. So, all right, it's important for that. So if I have to choose between them, the closer it is to the target language, the more helpful. But it could be that a word was preserved only in Akkadian or only in Ethiopic, and that's fine. Now, if you look at the left side of the page here, we see the Aramaic family tree. What was here, one word, now we break it down. So we have Old Aramaic up to 612. Why 612, you might ask? Because that's the date of the fall of Nineveh. And then Imperial Aramaic, this is the language of the Achaemenid or Old Persian Empire. Whereas, yeah, they spoke Persian, but they used Aramaic as their lingua franca. And and then from about 200 BCE to 200 CE, this is roughly, we talk about Middle Aramaic. And by the way, Imperial Aramaic, there's the book of Ezra falls in there. We have Aramaic papyri from Egypt, things like that. It's very interesting. Then Middle Aramaic, here's where we get to the book of Daniel, Qumran Aramaic, and Jewish literary Aramaic, which includes things like Targum Unkelos to the Torah and Yonatan to the prophets. And it also includes dialects like Palmyrene, Nabatean, and Chatran, and Palmyrene, the language of Tadmor, right? And Nabatean, by the way, the Nabatean script is what gave rise to the later Arabic alphabet. Then we look at the late Aramaic dialects, where it gets really interesting. 200 to 1200 CE, 1200. Bar Hebraeus is the last writing Syriac speaker writing in Syriac, creating new works there. So it's a cutoff date we use for that. You have basically an Eastern-Western divide here as well. Eastern is JBA, or Jewish Babylonian Aramaic, the language of the Babylonian Talmud, for example. And also contracts and ketubot and things like that. Mandaic, which has its own alphabet. And then Central Aramaic, I'm following Ed Cook here. Syriac and late Jewish literary Aramaic, I would put in the Central Aramaic category, following him. And then Western Aramaic, JPA, SPA, and CPA, Jewish, Samaritan, and Christian, Palestinian Aramaic, respectively. And so, at any rate, this is a quick and dirty introduction to how Aramaic and these various dialects and how they fit into here. Now, I like to start my students' journey in Aramaic with biblical Aramaic. But once you get biblical Aramaic down, then it's a short step to, makes it very easy to then go and learn, for example, Targum Unkelos and Yonatan right here for Middle Aramaic, or in Western Aramaic, here the Jewish Aramaic dialects. You've got some of the Midrashim are in Aramaic, some are in Hebrew, but some are in Aramaic. And you've got the Eretz Yisrael Targumim, and those are also very interesting. The late Jewish Aramaic, we also have like Targum to the writings and to the Targum Yerushalmi to the prophets. Syriac, a lot of Christian texts here. Again, it's very easy to read because it is Aramaic. You just have to learn another script is all. But so once you begin your biblical Aramaic journey, it opens up a whole new world of texts that you're able to read. Now, I've read maybe 20 pages of Mandaic. The only Mandaic I've read is what's in Rosenthal's handbook. I have read the entire Samaritan Torah, however, in their Targum in Aramaic, and I've read the CPA texts that are in what's her name's corpus with Sokolov. I've read all of those. It's interesting stuff. There's just not a lot of text here. But JPA, there is Syriac, late Jewish literary. Those are really interesting stuff. There's the Talmud. Interesting to Jews, but if you're not Jewish, it's probably not much interest to you. But at any rate, this opens a whole new world to you. And I wanted to give you sort of a preview of things to come, but also show you what this is giving you. And also, Aramaic has a big influence on late biblical Hebrew, and certainly Mishnaic and modern Hebrew. There are a lot of Aramaic loanwords there. Aramaic is probably the second language after Hebrew that you've just got to learn if you're interested in the Bible and Jewish texts and things like that. Okay, thank you, and all the best.